if you were to like do a 3-part checklist for like a 13-year-old kid who's like, I want to make it on YouTube in whatever field, it doesn't have to be in basketball or in tech, but in terms of like you guys did these things when you were that age, what would you say?
First thing that came to mind was audio quality. Because I mean, you can film anything on your phone, and I guess the iPhone.
Kenny's completely just knocking us. We failed checklist number 1.
Kenny's like, look at this piece of shit setup.
Go on.
All right, welcome to a special edition of the Old Man of 3. This is a special episode for our YouTube audience. We have 2 of the biggest YouTube stars in the world, Kenny Beecham and Marques Brownlee. Appreciate you guys for being here. Kenny, I know you flew in from Chicago. You drove over from New Jersey. We just want to acknowledge some background noise. We are backstage at our live show right now.
Right.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
You and I were just talking, by the way, and you apparently have a burner account.
I do have a burner account
that you tweeted from yesterday.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What was the content of that tweet?
So my flight was very early yesterday from Chicago to here, and while we were sitting to take off, the news broke that you retired, and I'm like, wait a minute, like there's something. Maybe I just wasn't in the loop. So we get up there, and I just tell the audience that's over there on the burner, like, I had no idea that you were about to retire, and I'm going to your show right now. And I didn't expect you to see it. That's why I threw it from the burner, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know how it ended up in my timeline, but it did. In fairness, we booked you and Marques for today many weeks ago, and it wasn't like we told everybody in the world prior to Tuesday morning.
I think a lot of people were kind of surprised, to be honest with you. We did an ep with T. Stiebel from the Sixers yesterday, and he was very stressed. That he was basically just like, why do I have to do this on the day that JJ was wearing glasses, because he was.
I was emotional all day, so I was wearing sunglasses. Wait, the only thing with the surprise thing that is a little, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on that, was like I saw New York Post, the title of the article was Redick retires abruptly. And just to kind of put something in context here, I played 15 years. I'm 37 years old. Like, I'm old as fuck.
Yeah, he's old as fuck.
And it's the off season. I'm not under contract with any team, and I'm injured. So, like, it's not really that abrupt. It's not like I'm in year 2 of a 5-year contract. I just decided to walk away from it. So, Marques, big news the last week or so with Apple and Microsoft. I want to get your thoughts on that. We were just talking off screen about the iPhone 13 Pro.
It's out. Well, it's about to be out.
Yeah.
It's about to be out. So
a lucky few have it.
Yeah. No, there's a couple minor updates with the phones. That's what people want to know. Every year is the iPhone X year, is the iPhone 13 this year. And there's very minor updates. The way I'm going to intro, I haven't made the review yet, but the way I'm going to intro it is new Toyota Camry comes out every year. You don't buy the new car every single year. Some people do, but like most people aren't doing that. And so this upgrade isn't for people with the last gen phone.
Yeah.
This is for people who have the 8, the 7, older phones. They're gonna get this one, and it's a good upgrade. But it's very close to the 12. So it's fine. I like the screens. I think that's the nicest upgrade. The cameras are huge. Microsoft announced a weird couple tablets, a laptop with a screen that folds down into an easel. It's kind of weird too. I just like it's like a little weird gadgets happening right now, but it's that time of year.
I want to get, kind of talking about YouTube. We talked with Matisse about this yesterday as well. He has an amazing YouTube following with his vlogging. But we've had you both on the show before, and we've talked to you a little bit about this. But in terms of like finding an audience there and resonating with an audience, it's a question for both of you guys. We'll start with you, but what do you think you've done really well? And what do you think other YouTubers do really well that resonates with a specific audience?
It's different for everybody. I happen to make tech videos, so I can speak for tech. And I think in tech, it's easy to get sort of jaded and lost in like new tech comes out, it just shows up at your door. Like it's really easy to just go, it's not that great, and sort of dismiss it. When there's like hundreds of millions of dollars of development and tons of work that goes into this stuff, especially with cars now, they're all pieces of tech too. And I think you gotta sort of step back and appreciate it once in a while instead of just being nose to the grindstone and forgetting about the context that tech lives in.
Right.
So I feel like I've stayed pretty grounded in that way, and hopefully that resonates with people watching. They don't have every phone to compare it to, so I'm trying to give people that context without losing it in that detail.
You're trying your best to get excited about a product.
Right.
And I know with you, like, there's a positive flow that you have on your channel. It's more we try to be more positive and not live in sort of a hot take culture.
Sure.
We try to be real and authentic. Is there times though where you just can't help but shit on the product?
Oh yeah. This is the thing. Like, people go, oh, Marques was never negative. He was so positive about things. If you go back, there's a couple really strongly negative things, and it's funny because I have a lot of things that sort of come in that I have to decide if I want to talk about or not. So usually the stuff that ends up on the channel is really, really good, and therefore I want to share it with you. Or it's really, really bad, and I want to warn you not to get it.
What's the last really, really bad thing?
I think I would say there was a Chromebook not too long ago that was just awful. It's usually like, not too much is overall bad, but there would be like one or two features that are absolutely terrible. I will say now, the cinematic mode that Apple just put in the newest iPhones, it's not good at all.
I love the idea of you just getting excited about lighting something up. It's like,
No,
it's so
I
nice
want
for too
to.
long, and you're basically just, you know what, I'm just gonna let it fly today.
No, because I understand people put a lot of work into it, and often you'll give that feedback, and then the people who made the thing come to you and go, you know what, we needed to hear that, and the next one will be better, and they're happier than ever to show me the next one.
I have a question for both of you. Kenny, we've obviously gotten into your sort of background and your story on the show already, but in different ways. We were talking about this yesterday for a little bit. You know, because you guys are so self-made, you know, you've come from, you know, whatever backgrounds, and you put yourself in a spot where you're now at the pinnacle of, you know, NBA discussion, at the pinnacle of tech discussion. How do you stop yourself from like becoming too inside with either the products, or like with you, it's like now you're friends with a bunch of players.
Right, yeah.
You know, you get invited to
That's a
stuff.
great question,
They throw you something.
Yeah.
How do you not
It's
become
unbiased.
Yeah. How do you basically?
It has been hard, I would say, because I think early on in like my YouTube thing, I wasn't like a super hot take guy, but I had my opinions about players, you know, and some of them being negative, some of them being positive. But then, like, I'm gonna give this example because me and him are friends now. Davion Mitchell, who like got drafted to the Sacramento Kings. I had my doubts about him as a player, and then I met him. I was like, okay, I have to root for him because I've met him and he's such a nice dude. So I've been trying to find that line, and I think the best kind of players or people are the ones that can take the criticism and just let it be criticism and not like a personal attack. Because I'll never say anything bad about a person. I may say this player needs to perform better, or maybe give my tips on how, as a 5'7" dude that doesn't play basketball. But I can do that, and if you can take it, then we can be really cool with each other, you know?
I have a question for you. Do you get like, I don't make tech products, so inevitably I'll criticize a tech product, but I don't have an answer for how to make it better. Or when you're criticizing a basketball player because of his skill on the court,
Yes.
is that the natural response? It's like,
All the
well,
time.
he's better than you. Is that
All
what
the
people
time,
say?
all the time. Like, where's your footage?
Okay.
And sometimes I play along in the joke and I'll show footage of me playing basketball and I like miss 2 free throws or something like that. Or my favorite one, or I guess least favorite one, is I'll talk about a move a front office did, and whether it be positive or negative, they always bring it back to the Bulls. Like, I don't work for the organization. You know, I can't really defend everything that they do, and it's not like because I'm a fan of this team or because I'm not a personal basketball player, I can't be critical of it. I mean, some of the best movie critics, tech reviewers don't really make the products, but they can still have an opinion about the things, and that's kind of the way I look at it.
Sure.
I've never said anything bad about you though.
I was going to ask that, but I'm glad to know
We're
that.
gonna pull the tape.
I was at game 1 of Philly versus Brooklyn.
And I had a terrible game.
They
I
kinda
got
booed
booed off the
you
court.
off the court.
I got booed off
Yeah,
the
they
court.
booed you off the
Thanks for
court.
bringing that up.
But I didn't say anything bad about it, you know? I didn't say anything bad about it because I knew that you were going to bounce back and the team would bounce back, and you did.
We did. And I actually had a great series other than
Yep.
that game. Tommy and I talk about just the power of independence, right? The power of sort of not being with a network and creating your own channel and your own voice and all that stuff. You know, you've carved out this niche in the NBA world. Do you think that sort of non-players, non-coaches, non-insiders could be better represented on the networks? Or do you think from your own interactions sort of with fans, do you think it's good to have that sort of separation?
I think they could be better represented? Are you more talking about like
let's say like a show like The Jump?
Oh, for
which will be
sure.
NBA
Yes.
Daily
Okay.
now,
Yes.
or
That's
Countdown.
right.
Like all the shows, like obviously no one's really
There's
touching.
got a lot of ESPN programs.
No one's really
But,
touching. No one's really touching the TNT guys until they decide to walk
Exactly,
away.
yes.
But in terms, it seems like there's this rotation that happens. You get a journalist as the host. You get a former player, former coach, former front office guy, and it's just like it's the same cycle of
Right.
different faces, obviously, but same roles essentially.
I think so, because I think there are a lot of NBA fans that don't just value the opinion of a player because he was a player, right? If that was the case, then I'm not going to say any names. A certain person on TV would have a bigger following on the social medias because people care about what they're saying. And the internet is so large. There are creators that have better opinions or word them better that did not pick up a basketball, There are a lot of shows that I have not watched because the talent just isn't good. They might be one or two people on the panel that are great, and then the other two I feel like can be replaced by someone that does it on the internet or someone that's up and coming.
You've talked about this before with us, but I know you watch a ton of basketball. You watch a ton of basketball every night, and Zach Lowe had this great segment on his podcast yesterday talking about if you want to make it as an NBA analyst, as an NBA journalist, like you have to watch a lot of basketball and you have to be in the weeds. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of players that get TV jobs that don't do that because they think they can do it based on their own acumen. And the game just is so rapid and it changes and evolves so quickly. You really have to just sort of be all in. So I'm agreeing with you, and I'm glad you answered that way. I do think, with YouTube and with, the way ESPN is going or the way TNT is going, like I do think there are other opportunities now for people to be a voice in the game that didn't necessarily grow up playing the game at a high level.
So I want to ask you this though. If someone like me from the internet were to go on these big shows, do you think that they would have the respect of the players?
You would.
Good to know. That's very good to know. Okay.
I feel like a little bit of case by case.
Yeah, there's journalists that go on that have been working in the NBA for 25 years that probably get a lot of respect, and there's others that don't.
I do think the point you made earlier, we've talked about this a lot with guys in the show and everything like that, about not veering into personal is really important because it's impossible in a lot of cases, even if you have a good relationship with the person, to not comment on something objectively basketball related, in whatever capacity. But one of the problems I think with social media in general is it's very easy to go personal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's in a way that you don't even know you're doing it, and all of a sudden you end up doing it. And sometimes it's not too easy to walk that back, because people hear that or they read that or they see that, and they're just like, you took it to a level that like you shouldn't have. And so I think having the wherewithal to know that no matter what you're saying, it never gets to that point. People would objectively give you the benefit of the doubt, even if they might not agree with everything you said.
Well, I would also add to that NBA players as a whole are very sensitive.
Extremely sensitive.
We're all very sensitive.
One
I'll
of the
never
most-
forget Kara Lawson. When we had Kara Lawson on, we asked her, what was the most surprising thing about your season in the NBA with the Boston Celtics? And she said, just how damn sensitive all you guys are. And I was like, yeah, she's not wrong. She's not wrong.
I have a question for you about your industry. Why do you think, you were saying, obviously we're biased because, you're our guy, you're at the top of the top, but why do you think there are not more outlets doing what you do, considering how important the iPhone is? Considering these things that you're reviewing that are like a part of our daily lives that we use, 100 times an hour.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be the thing that people are talking about constantly. And I know that there are pockets of the internet where they are, but not in the same way as, other industries.
It's funny, they are. It's just harder to, it's hard to find all of it, but two, the medium changed so quickly in the last decade. Doesn't seem that quick, but it changed so quickly that our parents and a lot of people were reading the articles and we're reading the newspaper about like the new thing that came out, the Pogue article, the Walt Mossberg thing. And they went from magazines to quickly there's all these independent voices talking about how they feel about products, and it just sort of popped up so fast that a lot of those older mediums have adapted and they've made their video versions, and it's kind of cool to see that. But no, I think there are a lot of voices. It's just hard to find the good ones that really care about criticizing the actual product
Yeah.
instead of the medium itself and how can I be, this YouTuber of this status or something.
Do you ever feel pressure to maybe give someone a better review because you get it early or get it for free?
No, and that's key because I think a lot of
That's a
people,
great question.
a lot of people roll up in their head like, all right, if I was in his position and I got this thing early, I would want to say lots of nice things so that next year I get it early too. And maybe at the very beginning you feel a little bit of that in the back of your head, but I've been luckily doing this for so long that I don't have that thought at all. In fact, I'm a little more like, I would much rather find good things to critique about a product to actually help out.
Gotcha.
And that's the thing, is like you'll see next year they'll be like, hey, check this thing out. You're really gonna like it because you remember last year you said you didn't like this thing. Now I'm gonna give you a better version. You can check it out. So,
Have you ever had a brand not send you the product because they didn't like your review?
Not yet, but if it happens, I'll just buy it. That's the beauty of it. Is I can just go buy it.
It also
I won't be
does feel like
first.
a sign that the product isn't very good.
That's a red. There's red flags all the time.
Yeah.
There's red flags. There's this thing called an embargo where you're allowed to talk about the thing on this date and this time. And sometimes there's these products that will do this weird dual embargo where, all right, on this date and time you can talk about it, but you can't talk about the software. And then a week later you can talk about the software. And so all the first impressions, which is what everyone remembers, comes out on the first. That's all the articles. That's all the headlines and everything. And then a week later, that red flag comes down and it's all the bad reviews about the software and how bad it was. So you got to keep an eye out for that stuff. There are red flags, but generally, you can expect.
Have you had a product recently that you were just blown away by?
Blown away by the Plaid Model S is probably the first one that comes to mind. There's lots of other electric cars. I review lots of them all the time. That happens to be the fastest production car ever made, and that you say that out loud, and it's like, oh, cool, it's a fast car, but like it blew me away.
It feels a little different.
It's very different.
It feels a little different. I like that.
This is a broad question for both of you, and I think you probably will have some similarities here, but then a lot of differences. But I know a lot of people watching this are probably fans of both of you independently. What do you, if you were to like do a 3-part checklist for like a 13-year-old kid who's like, I want to make it on YouTube in whatever field, it doesn't have to be in basketball or in tech, but in terms of like you guys did these things when you were that age, and it has at least contributed to where you are now, like what would you say?
First thing that came to mind was audio quality. Because I mean, you can film anything on your phone, and I guess the iPhone.
Kenny's completely just knocking us. We failed checklist number 1.
It was like, look at this piece of
Go on.
shit setup.
Go on.
Keep going.
Go on, keep going.
I feel like you can film anything from your phone, especially
Like,
to start off.
next is lighting.
No, but when I started, we didn't have like the iPhones and things like that, so we had to wait to get like a nice camera. When I was doing gaming, I had to get this thing named a Dazzle that cost like $150. You don't need any of that anymore. And you have to be charismatic. Like, I mean, I guess there are people on the platform that aren't charismatic that are huge, but I think where my content maybe relates to people the most is I try to just be as cool as possible. Not in the fake way, you can be fake cool, but as cool as possible, and it can take you a long way.
So I have like more of a one check. I have lots of little tips I could give, but I have a one checklist. And I actually related being a YouTuber to being an NBA player not too long ago, in that there's lots of people who want to do it at a high level, but there takes a certain level of dedication, of natural talent, of luck to get to the highest level and to be able to do it for a living at all. Mm-hmm. And so if you can pick something you want to make videos about, where you could make those videos day in and day out and never make a dime and just have fun with it, then you're on the right track. And that's the one check. If you can check that box, you're good.
How long did you go before your first YouTube check came through?
Right, great question. Probably like 6 years.
Yeah.
6
And
years.
it's because it wasn't, when I started, it was not a job at all.
Right.
There was no partner program, there was no AdSense, there was nothing. So I was just like, I would like to make videos about this thing and share them. And it was probably as I was graduating college 8 years later, where it was actually enough to be a job.
Right.
But that's the thing, like people play basketball in the backyard, people play in the park. It's fun. Even at a gym at a high level, it's fun. But it takes a certain level of that dedication, you would know, to even get to the league, to have any sort of success. So yeah, check that first box of like, if you have fun with it, you're on the right track.
Did you ever get discouraged in those 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, naturally there's ups and downs. Like you're super busy sometimes, you make a video, that's sort of the golden rule of YouTube, is you make something you think is gonna blow up, it doesn't.
Mhm.
You make something, it's not your best work,
And that's
it blows up.
That's
It's just kind of the way it goes. But yeah, no, there's always ups and downs.
To one of your points about just having like sort of energy, and YouTube obviously is a visual medium. Second time I did ESPN Countdown was when I was playing for the Clippers, and I did one of the games in the 2016 Eastern Conference Finals, and they asked me to break down something at halftime about LeBron, like on the big board, and I was standing up, and I was like, cool, but it wasn't live, it was taped. And they were like, do it, if you like it, we'll keep it, whatever. So I did my take, and I was like, fuck, I crushed that. I'm good, I don't need to do it again. Then we go to the live segment, and we come back to like the break room, and the producer was like, I need way more energy out of you. Like, what was that? I was like, man, I thought I nailed it,
Right,
you know? So the charisma part's huge. It for sure is huge. I want to ask both of you again about this. Like, what is it about YouTube? If you look at sort of the stats, time spent on YouTube relative to pretty much any other social media app is exponentially higher. The retention rate in terms of time spent, exponentially higher. What do you think it is about YouTube?
It's just so much. You can go through these different wormholes of content. I think like the reason I started was because of that. I wanted to watch someone play 2K. I found a Chris Smoove video, and I watched a year worth of Chris Smoove's videos in like a week. You know, it can just be that addicting.
Yeah.
Sounds like Chris Smoove, but it can just be that addicting. Because a lot of people are doing it straight out of passion or just out of fun. And I would rather watch that than watch an overly produced TV show or overly produced movie.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of people doing it because they want it to be their job. There's a lot of people on TV who have a lot of great fun and it's their job, and that's awesome. There's a lot of people on YouTube who do it because they want it to be their job, and you can feel that through the camera. And like you said, it's a scale. Like YouTube is the video library. It's the second biggest search engine in the world behind Google. So if I want to find a video about a thing, it's youtube.com and find the thing. So there's just so much stuff.
Do you think some of it is also just authenticity?
Yeah, I mean, you look at TikTok, like TikTok's skyrocketing for kind of the same reason, where it's just people on their phones, and it's not these big, heavy produced things, so the authenticity is there, and that like resonates with lots of people. But it's kind of in the name, like YouTube. It's just you and your camera if you want it to be. You can scale it up, make it a big production if you want to. I happen to like doing that, so I do. But yeah, it's like whatever you want it to be. That's the passion that shines through the camera.
Yeah.
It is funny though. I think about this like with you, for example. I'm sure that there's been a million people who tried to be like, you should do a TV show, you should do this, you should do that, and it's kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah. People like to graduate from YouTube to TV.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of the other way around. If you can have your own thing, if you have every little bit of control over everything you want to say, no producers telling you what to do, not that that's a bad thing, but I feel like that's the graduation I'd be after. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I know someone that works for one of the bigger sports markets, and he was like, man, I wish I had my own YouTube channel with a lot of followers, because if my contract is up at this big place, what am I going to do? And we have fallbacks, we have fallbacks that will work pretty good.
Well, we appreciate the time from both you guys. You guys have both built an amazing following and have great channels. Kenny, plug your channel. Actually, Kenny, plug your 9 channels.
Yeah,
I can't keep track of them.
I get bored quick, so I'm just like, let's do something new. And so you don't have to. I'm just happy to be here.
Let's do it. Also, can we talk about Kenny's hair for a second?
Yeah.
Let's not. Let's not.
16 million YouTube followers between the two of you, I think the number was. Kenny,
You're carrying that pretty heavily.
That's a good number. I like that.
All right, we appreciate it, guys. Thank you.